Hey everyone, not sure why I'm making a YouTube video, but I just wanted to do this just because it's what I do. Okay, so this morning I talked to my mom on the phone, and sometimes she aggravates me like all mothers do. You know how that goes when you talk to your parents. And today was a really good conversation that I had with her. We talked about just regular stuff like shows that I had watched, and she's been getting into Oprah Winfrey's new network OWN, which I have too. If you have it, it's a really good channel. And so I was telling about some shows that I liked on there, and I was just talking about my thoughts about someday moving to Canada, which has been something I haven't shared with you guys, but it is something I've thought about for multiple reasons, which I can get into another time. And usually she's like, "Oh, why?" But she was really supportive with it for some reason today. And my roommate is starting class, and sometimes she didn't really understand that, but this, I said, well, I'm not sure if he's gonna, finish or not. And she's like, well, maybe he will. It's only a year, and he works full time and goes to class at night, and it's 5 days a week each way. So, each day. So, but she was supportive of that, and she said she was gonna eat lunch, and that was it. But like we talked for like maybe half hour, 40 minutes, which we talk usually anyway, and that was it. And I ended up talking to a friend on the phone, and then, like around 3 o'clock my time, my father called me to tell me that my mother had a massive stroke. She had been eating lunch, and she felt nauseated, and she went to the bathroom and she threw up. And then she said something's really wrong, call an ambulance. And he called 911, and I guess the details might change because they're kind of fuzzy, and I was kind of in shock when he was telling me this from his cell phone at the hospital, that she had a major brainstem stroke, and she is unresponsive, and I'm not entirely clear if she can breathe on her own, and it's bad. She's probably going to die. She's in a coma, and machines are breathing for her at this time. Like I said, I'm not sure if she can breathe on her own or not. And this is a conversation her and I had before with each other. I can't go to the hospital for many, many reasons that maybe even some of you won't understand. I don't feel well enough most of the time to even go to the corner to my own mailbox, even though I look fine. I look fine, I get it. But I can't go, and I don't want to see it. I'm one of those people, I can't see that. That's not the memory I want of her. The last thing I really see is tubes and breathing machines and blood and needles and IVs and everything, so I'm cool with it. I don't know if the rest of my family is, but I don't really care because my mother and I already had this discussion, just like when she had the cancer and she was going through surgery, or when the chemo was making her sick. I never went after the surgery, but as soon as she had the phone and she could talk, she'd call me, and then me and her would talk on the phone for hours, or well, hours eventually, not at first, because she was very wore out and just wanted to rest, which is understandable. And I don't even know where I'm going with this. I feel like I'm babbling. I just wanted to make a video because you all have really been supportive during this. And I just wanted to let you all know that I now know. What I do want to say, though, is, I feel, because I just want to document some of my emotions right now, and they might change later, I'm sure they will. Right now, when he told me, I got numb. Like, my whole body went numb, my face went numb, my teeth felt weird, my hands are still freezing cold. And after I got off the phone with him, I called my roommate to tell him, and while I was telling him, I threw up. Like, I went to the bathroom, I'm like, hold on, and I threw up, and when I did again, I noticed that there was blood in my vomit. So this is something this is like the third time now that there's blood in my vomit. I probably have an ulcer or something going on. I don't know if the H. pylori was taken care of before, or if it's just the smoking or all the drinking I was doing at that time that just eroded my stomach lining. But obviously there shouldn't be blood, and I should check that, but not today. But I feel selfish because, number one, my first thought was when he told me that my mother was dying, my first thought was, I hope I don't pass out. So I felt selfish, but I think that's probably ordinary. I don't know. I don't know what people think when someone really close. And the other thing that I feel is selfish, and my mind went blank, so I don't remember, but I will get back to that as soon as I do remember. Next topic was just that I can't believe that this is happening right after I lost my friend that I did videos about to cancer. I just had that other thing back and it's gone again. I don't know what's wrong with me. Well, of course we know what's wrong with me. I feel as if I'm in a dream state. Like, that's the only way to describe it. It doesn't seem completely real. I don't feel super sad. I feel very awake, very alert. My mind seems to be going fast, but at the same time my body's calm. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I feel selfish because I hope that she does die and doesn't survive it, because my mother would never want to be in that state. A brainstem stroke is very severe. It could render her just completely helpless, non-responsive, toddler-like state. She wouldn't want that at all. She has a do not resuscitate order, which I do not know if that will come into play today or not, being that she cannot breathe on her own from what I understand. It may. She could be dead right this moment, and I don't know, because my father hasn't called back yet. That's why I have the phone right there in case I'm making this and it happens, and he calls me. I have flash forwarded to how I'm going to pull off getting myself to the wake and funeral. I have considered just how I'm going to do all this, and then I guess personally I have concerns because I don't deal very well with stress, and I don't cope well with stress. And so now it's so new, but I don't know how I'll be in a couple weeks. When something bad happens to me, the first person I call is my mother. She wasn't always the most supportive, as I have pointed out before. I'm not going to paint her as a saint now. I think she has done the best that she could do with how she was raised and her own knowledge of things, and a lot of times we all do the best that we can do. But now I'm just waiting, and I don't like waiting, and I just want to know. It seemed quick from what I understand, the time that she got sick to the time of collapse, and that's good, but it's just one of those things. It was so cliche for me to say to my father, but I just talked to her a few hours ago. Like, you always hear that, and I always found that odd that people say that, and there I was saying it. But I just talked to her. And you have to understand, like, this is now, the cancer's gone, right now. Well, it probably would have come back on the scans. We knew that. Cancer's gone. Surgeries, both of them, liver, colon, over. They're over. Everything was fine. Fine enough. She was healing. It wasn't as bad as it was before. She still had the massive diarrhea. She still had problems from the chemo that it had caused. And she hasn't been on chemo, as I pointed out, in like a year and a half. And this is why, personally, and I don't want to eat my words someday, but as of right now, how I feel personally, I would never do chemotherapy. Short of it being like lymphoma. I wouldn't do it. I watched chemotherapy take my mother. I don't know how to put this. My mother had cancer. She had surgery. The cancer was removed and it had spread to the liver. We knew this. Before my mother was diagnosed with cancer, she was fine. She was working. She didn't even know she had cancer, and that's the case for many people. But it was the chemotherapy, not the cancer. Granted, I know cancer that spreads continuously will cause death. I watched the chemo in a very short time destroy her, just melt her away to a fragile, very thin, very weak woman who had to use a walker and diapers. And that never went away. It didn't go away, even off the chemo. And then it turns out that they're like later, well, chemotherapy doesn't cure liver cancer. It doesn't fix it, so we still have to do surgery. Well, why didn't you just do the surgery then? I mean, and I know why people do chemo, and I know why they do it, and I know there's no other answer. But I know it's not the answer. You know? And I know people have survived chemo and gone on to live lives, but in spite of, many times, some have been lucky, but in spite of the chemo, basically what they did is they survived the poison. And they had problems. I mean, there's people on TV all the time that had chemo. They're not fine afterwards, a lot of them. A lot of them are left with very, very damaging things like neuropathy and gastrointestinal issues that are permanent, chemo brain, new cancers that the chemo has caused, cancers that all the scans that they have, every PET scan, every CT scan, ups your risk, all those. People who have had radiation, which my mom did not have radiation, so I can't speak personally, but from what I've read, radiation itself obviously causes cancer too. So, what I've never liked during this whole ordeal is when I see breast cancer commercials or commercials for any other cancer, and they're like, oh, walk for the cure, and oh, there's a benefit. I never got into it. I know a lot of people do, and that's your thing, but for me, the benefit is look at all the money we spent, and look at these cookies that we made of the ribbons for whatever cancer, and oh, we're all doing such a great thing, let's mail in our yogurt caps. It doesn't mean anything. And Dannon Yogurt, or whatever yogurt, I don't want to single them out, that is having you mail in caps. It may not even be Dannon, so Yoplait or whoever it is. They're giving that money anyway. They're only matching up to a certain point. It's like it's this propaganda of let's all walk for a cure. You're not doing anything. It's not helping. You want to help? Write a check. I mean, just write a check. But as long as we are perpetuating this thing of giving money for newer and newer chemotherapy drugs and newer radiation drugs and not opening up to alternatives, and I don't just mean alternative medicine, because I know someone who did that and did not fare so well on just the alternative medicine either. But we're so quick to close things down, or that doesn't make sense, or that person sounds crazy. Cancer is now 1 in 2, 1 in 3 people in your lifetime will get cancer. I forget, I think it's men 1 in 2, women 1 in 3. It's getting perpetually, I don't even know what's the right word. People are getting it younger. It's not something like it was a long time ago where older people got it, or, you know, only sometimes, or only smokers, or only people who were obese. It's everybody. And out of my roommate and I, one of us is going to get cancer. And that's why I spend so much time researching and reading, not only for what I'm going through, but just for that, because I need to know what is going to be my decision if I get cancer. And no one ever wants to think about that. You know, no one wants to think, well, oh, don't think about that, that's bad. Don't think about that. Have happy thoughts. It's reality, you know? Figure 200 people watch this video, 100 of them are going to get cancer. What are you going to do when you do? You're just going to go and just do what my mom did? I never agreed with her treatments, but I stayed away from suggesting and telling her what to do because, number one, I didn't want the responsibility if it backfired. And the other reason is just simply she was doing her own thing. She has blind faith in doctors. I used to have blind faith in doctors until they created a person that you see before you that cannot go to the mailbox, and even if I wanted to, probably couldn't go to the hospital. I don't know the answers. I look for them. I know some of you look to me to find them, and if I did, great. I probably never will. I guess my fear is that I'll find something that works for me, may not work for everyone else. I think that I'd be very quickly dismissed. I don't think that people would really listen, because who am I? You know, why would I be so special? Just like if someone watching this video found out, like, hey, I did this, and all of a sudden my problem, whatever it was, MS or anything, stopped it. I don't know. But I don't know when, in the situation that I've been in for the past 2.5 years, almost 2.5 years, that with my own problems, or when something good happens, or when a TV show comes on that I just want her to see, that I think she'll enjoy, I don't know who to call. And so I'll end it with that, and I will update you when I know more. Probably I will, unless I just take to the bed for a little while. But anyway, yeah, I've just gone on for 16 minutes and I have no idea what I even said. So I'll end it here, and I will talk to you all soon. You can email me. Don't worry about saying the wrong thing. You know, people do that. Just say what you want to say. Say nothing. Say something. I don't take it personal. You know, I know that people just, death is weird, even though we're all going there. You know, someday everything in my room will be in the trash because I won't be here. It's true for all of us. So, talk to you all later. Hey everyone, not sure why I'm making a YouTube video, but I just wanted to do this just because it's what I do. Okay, so this morning I talked to my mom on the phone, and sometimes she aggravates me like all mothers do. You know how that goes when you talk to your parents. And today was a really good conversation that I had with her. We talked about just regular stuff like shows that I had watched, and she's been getting into Oprah Winfrey's new network OWN, which I have too, if you have. And that was it. And, you know, I ended up talking to a friend on the phone, and then like around 3 o'clock my time, my father called me to tell me that my mother had a massive stroke. She had been eating lunch, and she felt nauseated, and she went to the bathroom and she threw up. And then she said something's really wrong, call an ambulance. And he called 911, and I guess the details might change because they're kind of fuzzy, and I was kind of in shock when he was telling me this from his cell phone at the hospital, that she had a major brainstem stroke, and she is unresponsive, and I'm not entirely clear if she can breathe on her own, and it's bad. But it's a really good channel. And so I was telling you about some shows that I liked on there, and I was just talking about my thoughts about someday moving to Canada, which has been something I haven't shared with you guys, but it is something I've thought about for multiple reasons, which I can get into another time. And usually she's like, oh, why? But she was really supportive with it for some reason today. And, you know, my roommate is starting class, and sometimes she didn't really understand that, but this, I said, well, I'm not sure if he's going to, you know, finish or not. And she's like, well, maybe he will. It's only a year. And, but, you know, he works full time and, you know, goes to class at night, and it's 5 days a week each way. So, I mean, each day. So, but she was supportive of that, and she said she was going to eat lunch, and that was it. Like, we talked for like maybe half hour, 40 minutes, which we talk usually anyway.